So before I know that you found a lot of information or particular things that you want to talk about, but first just want to give a general overview. And so for anybody who hasn't followed closely, so pretty much the Social Democrats, which aren't Angela Merkel's party, Angela Merkel's party, the Christian Democratic
CDU.
CDU, whatever, they're conservatives. So a party who is technically to their left has gained most of the votes. So I'll just put right here a graph with the votes, the highest amount of votes, but very. And then the other aspect that's interesting is I think the Greens managed to get a historic number of seats. I mean, they surpassed what they had previously done by very little. But what is different now is that they could very much be part of the government because none of the first two parties got enough votes to build a two-party coalition, I believe. So they're going to have to build a three-party coalition or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the Greens could play a big role. So before passing it back to you, overall, you could say it was a little bit of a win for the socialists and the left, although Sam will show how perhaps it's not really the case when you start looking at a breakdown, because there were five parties who got votes, right? If I'm not mistaken, who got a good number of
Uh,
seats.
yes.
Yeah, so
Well,
I'll be showing down
five.
the screen
All
right
right.
now anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm just pulling up something for. Okay, it's in front of me. Is it?
But yeah, and
Okay.
as I
All
mentioned
right.
in the
Sorry.
beginning of the
Okay.
show, it's unclear which one of the two parties can even form the government. Technically speaking, it should be the Social Democrats who should lead, but it's not even 100%, and it's going to take a few months, very
No,
possibly, until they form a government. But yeah, go ahead.
no. The main thing I disagreed with your introduction. Sorry about that.
No,
Is
no
that
problem.
you kind of categorized it as a sort of a super, like Greens becoming part of coalition as a bit of
Hmm.
a new develop. It's not new. Like
I
Germany has
see.
always pretty much been a governed by coalition. I mentioned, I think previously, German foreign minister for many years was a Green Party member, because actually, for example, that's a very big. Again, these are all traditions. There is
Yeah.
no laws for this. For example, usually, whichever party has the chancellorship, the second largest or the third largest partner gets the foreign ministry, because
Hmm.
pretty much
Okay, so
foreign
Greens
ministry is a
have
bit of
been.
a. Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
thought
and
Greens had
and
never
by
been part
so
of the main coalition, like the
no,
main part of the government, or
they no, for not for the, I believe, not for the last 16 or more years at
okay.
least, but they have. And actually, I mean, a big the thing is, the reason I know this, so I mean, I always
Mm.
remember this, is because the German foreign minister played a huge role in original Iranian nuclear negotiations when Hassan Rouhani back then was the head of Iranian team of negotiators,
Okay.
and they used to meet a lot. And he was a really interesting character. He was, I don't know if he's still alive. He was married to a Iranian lady as well, Iranian German lady as well.
Gotcha.
But anyways, so yeah, so I wouldn't say it's that super. Although
Hmm.
yeah, the Greens did increase their vote share and seats and all that, but not as much as they had hoped.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that's something to keep in mind. Uh, Die Linke, I don't know anybody knows them or not. Die Linke is like they are the more left wing German party. They are the sort of the five-star movement, or yeah, they came about during that same time, sort of uh, a bit more left wing version uh,
Yeah,
of this socialist.
because the
Sorry,
Social
go ahead.
Democrats are like center
Center
leftists.
left.
Yeah, yeah. So they're
So
really not
they
even.
they they actually did very badly, and they
Mhm.
got only 4.9, I believe, percent of the vote, and pretty much
The
half
Die Lincoln,
that
not the
Lincoln.
Social
Yeah,
Democrats. They got the most amount of votes.
yeah, Yes, they lost, I believe, Die Lincoln. Sorry, I'm just looking at. I don't know if this is I think they lost about 30 seats, so that's quite bad. Then you have the hardcore sort of, some describe them as neo-Nazi alternative Germany party thingy. I don't know how to call them, AFD, alternative Führer. I don't know if that's what it is. But they also had a reduction, but I think they only lost like 3% of popular vote. So not as bad as the left, the hard left, let's say. The surprise victors here was FDP, which is this sort of pro-business, very liberal, sort of very business friendly
Yeah,
party. They were the surprise winners basically, because people expected the
yeah.
Greens to become kingmakers, but FDP and Greens are now
So can you
kingmakers.
explain? Okay, so one thing first, the FDBs still got 3% less than the Greens, but I understand they like overachieved and the Greens underachieved. And what's this kingmaker um concept that you just mentioned?
Look, you need, I mean, I'm not exactly familiar with the German system, because depending on the bill, it could, sometimes you need absolute majority, sometimes you need just the simple majority to, I don't know which one German Bundestag works based on. But to form an effective coalition, you basically need more than 50% of the parliament, right?
Mhm.
And the Social Democrats now have 24, I believe, percent, or 25, something like
Yeah,
that,
25 and a
right?
half. Yeah.
Yeah. The Greens have 14.
So that's
That's put
40.
together is that's put together is around 40. If the FTB, the surprise surprise
Yeah.
the black sheeps or whatever you want to call them, they got 11%. That puts them just above 50%, right? For the last 16 years, what you had in Germany was a grand coalition. Grand coalition is when the two biggest parties, like SDU and Social Democrats, they rule together.
That's
But
kind of what I was
but,
referring to in the beginning.
but
Thank you for explaining
all
that.
right, all right. But I think the real takeaway from these results, all of the things I said are pretty much bullshit, and you can probably get them at other places in a much more detailed and more structured way. But I do think the biggest takeaway should be is the fracture that we see in German politics, which I think we see everywhere. But you now the two biggest parties in Germany together cannot form a coalition that would command more than 50% of the Bundestag. So that's quite big. And even like the coalition that is Olaf Schulz, the leader of the Social Democrats, who will have the first chance usually because he's got the largest party. The coalition he's talking about is a three-party coalition between people with very opposing views on many things. So it will be I would imagine, even if that coalition comes about, it will be a weak coalition and a strange one. Although I should say, just news-wise, Armin Laschet, the leader of STU, is not giving up. Unlike a lot of people in his party are calling for him to resign and stuff, he's saying that no, the result is mixed, and whoever can form a coalition is the winner. And I'm gonna try to form a coalition. It seems unlikely, but he's gonna try. So you know
Yeah, I know.
that's
That's funny.
also,
So even though he finished second, he wants to become chancellor.
no, but that's fair enough to be. I'm actually, I don't have anything against that, but I think I mean, considering the background, the fact that he was uh, he was riding off of
Yeah,
Merkel's 16
yeah,
years of reign and all that. I think yeah, he's badly fucked up. But I actually think, to be honest, I like the German system of like, I do think prime ministers should be elected within the parliament, not as a sort of necessarily the leader of the most popular party or all that.
see.
I like
Yeah.
parliamentary politics, but that's a personal,
But
anyway,
yeah, very fragmented. So
tangent,
that was
sorry.
your, yeah, no, so that was your main kind of point and takeaway. But yeah, quite
My,
fragmented.
and
So if you look, is like centrist with 25, then conservatives with 19 points, then Greens with almost 15, then these like pro-business ones 11 and a half, and then you still have three more parties which vary between left and right again.
8%.
Yeah, 10, and other parties
Uh,
8%. Yeah.
so
So
that
yeah.
was, I also had another sort of takeaway, which again, these are personal views. Maybe I'm wrong. Very interestingly, I was watching and reading a lot of DW, and thank you, Google Translate, by the way. You
Mm-hmm.
allow me to read a lot of German articles. It's really weird reading it in, Google Translate,
Yeah.
but it's still, it gets the point across. A lot of like things were that, oh, social democrats are sort of, Olaf Schulz especially, he's conciliatory towards China and stuff, and Russia. But the Greens, because of human rights, they are very much against Russia and China and all that. That could be a big issue in the cabinet making and all that. So this was the very much the line in on DW and on a lot of places I saw. I personally think that's a bit of a, I think it's a bit of a red herring or maybe mischaracterization. The Green German Party is backed by a lot of powerful financial interests in Germany, which are backed by green energy. I mean, how you describe green energy, I know, is a very controversial issue. How batteries are produced or wind farms and all that, but green energy, Germany is the hub of green energy in Europe. And I'm sure there is a lot of economic rivalry between German companies and Chinese companies who are also both Chinese state and Chinese companies are heavily invested in this segment. You also have Russia providing cheap gas and Nord Stream 2 and all that. That's another sort of, whenever, for example, whenever gas and oil prices go down, the demand for green energy also goes down. So I do think there are also those factors more than human. I think human rights. I mean, again, I care about human rights. China and Russia are both major major violators of human rights. I'm sure. So
Yeah.
is Germany, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's more about economic and fine. I haven't been able to find any evidence except the fact that there are a lot of German green companies that contribute to the Green Party. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking, and yeah, that's just a hypothesis.
Interesting.
So
Very interesting.
not a conclusion. Yeah.